There are stories that don't really end in the way we expect. No dramatic final sentence. No sudden healing moment. No clean closure. Just understanding. And for Lily, that understanding took years. Not days, not weeks, years. She grew up in a house that never changed. Same kitchen. Same morning light through the curtains. Same quiet footsteps on wooden floors. Her grandmother still woke up earlier than everyone else. Still made breakfast without asking if anyone was hungry yet. Still corrected the way Lily folded towels or held a spoon or stood too casually in the hallway. But something had shifted over time. Not the house. Lily. She was older now. Not just in age, but in the way she existed in silence. One morning, she was standing by the stove, making toast a little too dark on purpose. Her grandmother glanced over. "You're burning it." Lily didn't even look up. She just said, "I'm not burning it. I'm giving it personality." A beat of silence. Then her grandmother, dry as ever, "Personality is not supposed to be black." And for the first time, Lily laughed. Just a little. Under her breath. Like it wasn't something she was used to doing freely. They ate in silence, like always. But it wasn't the same silence anymore. It wasn't heavy. It was just familiar. Later that day, Lily stood by the window watching rain slide down the glass. She used to hate rain when she was younger, because rain meant being stuck inside. And being stuck inside meant thinking too much. But now it was just weather. Still, memories don't really ask permission before they return. And they came back anyway. Not violently like before, not like a storm. More like old photographs slowly developing in water. Her mother's voice in the kitchen. Her father laughing too loudly at something small. Hands lifting her onto a chair so she could help make pancakes, even though she mostly just made a mess. Lily closed her eyes, and instead of pushing it away like she used to, she just let it stay. For a moment, then she whispered to herself almost without sound, "I thought waiting would bring you back." A pause, but it didn't. Her eyes opened again. "And I think, Len, I understand that now." Behind her, she heard footsteps. Her grandmother entered the room slowly, not interrupting, just existing there. "You're thinking again," she said. Lily gave a small smile without turning around. "I always think." "That's not what I meant," her grandmother replied. That made Lily turn. "Did you ever hate how quiet this house is?" she asked. Her grandmother didn't answer right away. That alone meant something. Finally, she said, "Quiet houses are not always sad." Lily nodded slowly. "I used to think silence meant something was missing." Her grandmother looked at her for a long moment. "I know." Later that evening, Lily asked something she had never really asked before. Not directly, not fully formed until now. "Why were you always so strict with me?" Her grandmother sat down across from her. And for once, there was no immediate correction, no instruction, no discipline, just honesty. "Because life doesn't wait until you're ready," she said. "And I couldn't protect you from everything." Lily looked down. "I was just a child." "I know," her grandmother said again, softer this time. "But I also knew I couldn't bring them back." That sentence stayed in the room longer than anything else they had ever said to each other. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. But not in the same way she used to. Before, she would lie awake trying not to feel anything. Now she was just listening. To herself. To memory. To everything she had avoided for so long. And slowly the memories came back again. But this time, they didn't break her open. They passed through her like waves instead of crashes. Her mother brushing her hair. Her father pretending he was the official pancake taster. The sound of laughter that once filled rooms she still remembered too clearly. Tears came, but quietly. Not the kind that feels like falling apart. The kind that feels like something loosening after being held too tightly for too long. And in the middle of that silence, she whispered, I don't think I was supposed to forget you. A pause, but I also couldn't keep living only there. Her breath shook slightly. So I'll carry you differently now. The next morning came like any other. Sunlight, kitchen sounds, the smell of something cooking. Her grandmother was already awake, as always. "You're early," she said. Lily nodded while making coffee. "I always am." A small pause. Her grandmother corrected her quietly. "No," she said, "not always like this." And Lily understood exactly what she meant. Something had changed. Not in the routine, but in her. She sat down at the table. For a moment, she just looked around the kitchen. Same walls, same furniture, same quiet life. But now it didn't feel like something she was trapped inside of. It felt like something she had learned to live within. I used to think growing up meant leaving things behind," Lily said quietly. Her grandmother didn't respond immediately. She never really rushed emotional moments. Finally, she said, "And now?" Lily looked down at her hands. "Now I think it just means learning how to carry them without breaking." A pause. Then softly, her grandmother said, "That sounds about right." And that was it. No dramatic closure. No perfect healing. Just two people sitting in a quiet kitchen, sharing breakfast like they always had. Except now, something unspoken had softened between them. Because some grief doesn't disappear. It changes shape. And some love doesn't stay in one form. It stays in memory, in habits, in silence that no longer feels empty. And Lily finally stopped waiting for the past to return. Not because she stopped loving it, but because she finally learned how to let it live inside her, without losing herself to it. And maybe that's what growing up really is. Not forgetting, not replacing, just learning how to carry everything that came before, and still keep walking forward.
My first love. My name is Laura. I'm almost 9 years old. Although, to be honest, sometimes it feels like there's someone older living inside me. Today I want to tell you a story, a very quiet one, and a very important one, about my first love. I didn't understand right away that it was love. I thought love was something big, like in movies, with flowers, confessions, rain, and music. But for me, it all began with a simple school desk. First meeting. It was September. A new class, a new notebook, a new fear. My mom braided my hair into 2 pigtails and said, "Don't be afraid, you'll definitely find friends." But at school, everything felt different. Kids were laughing, talking, sharing secrets, and I was sitting alone, the last desk by the window. I pretended to look into my notebook, but actually I just didn't know where to look. And then, "Can I sit here?" I looked up. There was a boy standing in front of me. His hair was messy, like he had just woken up, and his eyes had no trace of mockery. I nodded quietly. He sat down and said, "I'm Artem." "Leora," I replied. It was the most ordinary conversation, but for some reason, in that exact moment, the world became a little warmer. Little moments. At first, everything was simple. He forgot his pen. I gave him one. I forgot my ruler. He shared his. During breaks, he would take cookies out of his backpack and always break them in half. "Equal," he would say. We started doing homework together. At first by accident, then on purpose. Sometimes he drew funny faces in my notebook. Sometimes I corrected his spelling mistakes. We laughed at things no one else understood, and one day I caught myself thinking I was waiting for morning, not because of school, but because of him. First feeling, it happened in winter. He didn't come to school. At first I thought he's just sick, but the day felt too long. No one took his seat. I didn't let anyone sit there. During break, I looked out the window and thought, what if he never comes back? It was a strange feeling, Like you have something very important, and suddenly it's gone. When he came back after 3 days, I couldn't stop myself. I just stood up and hugged him. He froze. What was that? I shrugged and said quietly, I missed you. And in that moment, something clicked inside me. Maybe that was love. Goodbye. In spring, everything changed. After school, we were sitting on the swings. He was moving slowly, barely swinging.
I need to tell you something. I felt right away. It was something bad. We're moving. The world became quieter. I could hear the wind, the creaking of the swings, but not myself. Bar? Very. I didn't cry. I couldn't. I just looked at his sneakers, moving back and forth. On his last day, he handed me a folded piece of paper. Don't open it right away. I opened it at home. You are the closest person I've ever had. I will never forget you, I promise. I put the note under my pillow. And that night, I cried for the first time. Oh, years passed. I grew up. The pigtails disappeared. New people, new cities, new stories appeared. But sometimes, I would find that note and read it again. And every time I felt the same warmth, as if the little girl inside me was still sitting at that desk. Oh, one evening, I was scrolling through social media, and suddenly I saw a name, Artem. I stared at the screen for several minutes. My heart was beating like I was 9 again. I wrote, Hi, it's Lara. The reply came almost instantly. I've been looking for you. In that moment, the past came alive again. Oh, we met in the park. He was standing near those same swings. I recognized him immediately. He became taller, his voice deeper, but his smile, the same. Hi, he said. Hi. And suddenly everything felt easy, as if those years never existed. We talked about everything. We laughed. We remembered. And at one point he said, I never forgot you. And I realized, neither did I. Oh, a year later, he brought me back there. The swings, evening, warm wind. Do you remember how it all started? Yes. He stepped closer. Back then I didn't know it was love, but now I do. He took out a ring. Will you stay with me? I smiled through tears. I never really left. Our wedding was quiet, without unnecessary noise. But it had everything. Laughter, tears, warmth. And the little girl inside me finally stopped being afraid of being alone. Oh, first love. It doesn't always end. Sometimes it stays inside you and waits until you grow into it.